Welcome to NaySMR, episode 4 of NaySMR, the podcast that's not ASMR. If you like me, then maybe it's ASMR for you. Relax and just listen to me ramble about absolutely nothing, or maybe something. Something is nothing and nothing is something, so who knows what's happening. There's actually about 1,000 people, 1,500 people that listen to this every week. Very surprised. Maybe the number will go up, much like the number that's going up in my Patreon. I cannot thank everyone enough for donating to my Patreon. I'm putting up 3 weekly videos on my channel, other videos on other channels, and I'm streaming on my NayPlay channel. I'm doing a lot, and I'm editing Milford the short film, and I'm currently pitching 3 television shows right now, so I'm a little frazzled. A little tired, but I'm still going, and I now am but I'm over $900 a month on Patreon. I can't believe it. My rent, I'm almost paying my rent with my Patreon. That would be amazing. I wouldn't have to stress and worry about digging holes and doing other things to get extra cash. I just sold a bunch of clothes today, and I returned something on Amazon, got $100 back. I'm freaking penny pinching right now, but I'm still here. Yeah, can't stop me. I'm actually about to restructure my whole YouTube channel, give it a makeover, if you will, and put out a little schedule. So this is the first anyone's hearing about it. That'll happen next week, I think. Also, I think next week is the episode of Free Money, my brother Seth's pilot that we did for Viceland. I think that's going up sometime next week, so stay tuned. It's really funny. And Seth and I are also talking about doing My Own Brother again. I know there's a lot of diehard fans. So the people who like that show is a very vocal minority of my audience. The people who like it really like it, and they really want it. So Seth and I are trying to bring it back, and not that it really went away, but it's been a while. We're going to put it on Seth's channel, and he might start his own Patreon because he's walking like 100 dogs a day, and that's how he's paying rent right now. Like when we don't have it, we're trying to sell this TV. Well, these 3 shows. One of them's like seems closer to being sold than the others. But if that one sells, then we get paid to write, but it only lasts for a few months. So in between, Seth walks dogs, and he's really tired of walking dogs. So he's gonna start a Patreon for My Own Brother. So if people like My Own Brother, donate to his Patreon when that's up. And if you like me, and you haven't yet, you can spare $1, literally $1. If all 1,500 people who watched this and listened to this donated $1 a month, I'd have $1,500 a month, and I would honestly be rich. That would be rich for me. Do you know how many buckets of soup I could make? Speaking of, I'm making a bucket of soup right now. I think it's my 7th bucket of soup. I'm going to get to the point. I have a point of this episode. I'm just kind of rambling. I always ramble in the beginning. I guess the whole thing is a big ramble, but yeah, I'm on my 7th bucket maybe. This time I just dumped tons of stuff in there. I make it used to be a Southwestern vegetable soup, but now I don't know what it is because I don't really go by the recipe. I just get as many beans as I can. I grab like 5 cans of beans, I dump them in, and just put in a ton of random vegetables. And I use a hammer to get the garlic in there because I grate it with my fingers, and then it gets all, I cut my fingers on the cheese grater, and sometimes there's blood in the soup, and then I gotta like rinse out the cheese grater over the bucket of soup and over the sink, and then I'm getting tons of extra water in there, and I kind of like scoop some of it out with my hands. So it's kind of a disaster. So what I've learned is the best way to like my friend Bob said I should crush it. So I just take a hammer and I crush the garlic with the hammer, and then I just pick it up, flick it off the hammer into the bucket. I say bucket, I always say bucket. What is it called? That's a pot. That's a pot. That's a big pot that sits on the stove. Anyways, I'm a stove artist, as you can tell, and I'm about to eat my next art project, and I can't wait. This lasts me, like, I'm making them so big now, they last over a week. It's awesome. I just heat it up, cool it down, heat it up, cool it down, and stuff it down my throat. Anyways, all right, so I want to get to the topic at hand, if you will, if that's the phrase I should be using. I talked about how I'd never drank coffee, and now I'm going to talk about how I drank coffee I almost lost the video. I deleted everything off my phone on accident, and everything was on the cloud, and it says you cannot access any of your videos because they're not on the cloud, so nothing would work except for the videos of me drinking the coffee. I was like freaking out. I was like, no, the video's gone. I don't want to do it ever again. So I have the videos. I will edit that. But let me tell you first, that was absolutely horrible. It was horrible. I don't like alcohol. It's really hard for me to drink alcohol. It's disgusting. I have to swallow a mouthful of water as I'm swallowing the alcohol, so I can't taste it. It's torture. It's like, why am I even doing this to myself? That being said, coffee is worse. I do not like coffee at all. I wanted to like it. I wanted to try it. I've basically dipped my tongue in it and taken like not even a full sip. It's just like a dipping, if you will. That's all I've had. I've never even had a full sip. So I had many full sips. You'll see the video. So Tom, George, and Bob, we all went. Tom is like a coffee, apparently all three of them are coffee experts, but Tom, I would say, is actually more of an actual coffee expert because he's worked in the coffee industry for a very long time, and he knows like everything about coffee, like everything. He says stuff that's like talking like math and science with these things, and like he's like, there's like legitimate sci-fi ways of making coffee. Like you can Wi-Fi it to your mouth now, apparently. It's pretty bananas, these new ways of making coffee. Like it's probably a way where you can freeze the bean and then look at it and all of a sudden you taste it. That's what he says these things to me. I don't understand. I'm like, don't you just, I don't even know how you make coffee. I guess you crush the coffee, drip water over it, and then like the urine left over is what you drink. So basically, you're drinking the bean's shower water, if I'm to understand this correctly. It's if someone smushed me, put me in a shower, ran water over me, and then someone drank the water coming out of the drain. That's what you're drinking. Coffee's guts, dirty shower gut water. That's what it tastes like, in my opinion. It was bad, man. It was real bad. So I had a cold brew, which is maybe that was the pour over. I should have him here right now so he could tell you what I had. Well, you'll see the video. You'll see the video. It all makes sense. But it was just really bad. And they were like, oh, you baby, you'll get used to it. You just deal with it. Just deal with it. But like, why would you just deal with it? Why make yourself like something you don't like? I don't understand. Like, I understand the acquired taste thing, and sometimes your taste buds change later. Like, I might like coffee in 2 years. I don't know. But right now, and this is the first, up until this day, never in my life have I enjoyed the taste of coffee. And I can say that, so since I've never had coffee, people might say, well, how can you say that? I can smell coffee, and I can understand what it tastes like. You eat an apple when you're sniffing an orange, you taste an orange. The nose is stronger than mouth. I don't like coffee. I do, some coffees from a certain distance smell better than others, but it's just intense. It smells like hot pennies, in my opinion. Also, it tasted like cigarettes. I 100% tasted cigarettes, like someone put an ashtray out in my mouth or a cigarette in my mouth. And George was like, no, it doesn't. You're an idiot. And everyone's like making fun of me. It does. It tastes like cigarettes. I'm not exaggerating. I don't know why it tasted like that. That's what I tasted in my mouth, and it was horrible. So anyways, I don't like coffee. I tried. I'm happy I tried. I don't want to like sound like I'm being negative and like coffee stinks. It's just, I didn't like it. I wish I liked it because it seems like a cool thing. Actually, I'm glad I didn't like it because I don't know what is drawing me to want to drink coffee. It just looks cool. Like I have this image in my head of like, speaking of, this is kind of a good segue, of like a Harry Potter style home, or like a Hobbit house, or a cozy British pub, place that's like dark with a fireplace. It's all wood, the big sofa chairs. I imagine that's what happens when people go drink coffee. You go in there, it's the most cozy place in the world, and you're sipping on a hot cup of coffee, and it's like the greatest taste in your mouth. That's the experience. I forget that it's just a Starbucks and it's loud and there's homeless people in there and they're yelling at you and you have to get up because there's 100 people waiting for the tables, and if you're at your computer too long and you can't plug your computer in because everyone's using the outlets, and it's not what I just described. It's not a good experience, but that's what I think of when I think of drinking coffee. So I want to like go to a cliche, perfect, awesome coffee house and like sip on a cup of coffee and like think about art projects. That's what I want to happen, but that's not what happens. Instead, I would just go and I would drink a cup of hot chocolate and a tree fort or something, and that would be better. So I was going to segue to Harry Potter because I'm going to wrap up one more thing about don't let me forget about my tongue. I need to say something about my tongue. I've made a major discovery with my tongue while drinking coffee. I have a dumb tongue. I have a numb tongue, as Trailer Wow said. Speaking of Trailer Wow, some more segues. The next video, so my next character video for next week will be on Wednesday, and it'll be Trailer Wow's. I'm really getting off track here. I gotta remember tongue, and I gotta remember Harry Potter. Harry Potter talking tongue. I'm talking about my schedule now. So next week, these guys on Monday, the Let's Play show. Wednesday, character video. Every Wednesday will be a new character, normal Nathan Barnatt, sketch, prank, whatever, physical bit, music video, annoying song. Every Wednesday, Friday, this podcast. So that's the schedule going forward. And Trello Else will be the video for next Wednesday. You guys might know about that because when I was freaking drunk in Chili's, Chili's restaurant, I was like, I want to do a Trello Else about Chili's, and that's what I'm doing. I wrote it today. I got the clothes ready. I'm going to go film it. On Sundays, usually when I film Trailer Wells, and I'll edit it that night and throw it up. Well, I'll have a couple days because it'll go up on Wednesday, but I'll probably preload it. Anyways, I'm giving you too many details. So that's what's coming up. Now, back to my tongue and then to Harry Potter. I learned that my tongue doesn't operate right. It doesn't taste when things are just sitting on it. And ever since I've been like testing it and trying to see if my tongue works, and it doesn't work. I mean, it does. I'm just going to interject for a second because I never actually follow up about my tongue. What I learned was when I have food in my mouth, I can't taste it until I move the food around. Like if I'm chewing or if I'm drinking something, it's constantly flowing over my tongue and moving down the back of my throat. That's how I taste it. So I don't taste food usually until I swallow. And I thought everyone had that. I didn't realize it was a thing. If I just hold anything in my mouth and don't chew or move it, just hold it in my mouth, I don't taste it. So I remember when my mom would make us put soap in our mouth for being bad, it didn't matter to me because I couldn't taste it if I didn't move my tongue. And I tasted it when I'd start rinsing my mouth out. That was the worst part. So I don't know what's wrong with my tongue. I thought everyone tasted like that. You had to like actually be chewing. So the coffee was sitting on my tongue and they were like, oh, do you taste it? And I was like, no, I was just holding my mouth and I'd swallow it. That's when I would taste it. You get like the aftertaste. And when it's like going down your throat is when you taste it. So I thought that was something I just learned about myself. So yeah, when Tom was like, oh, you're supposed to like swirl it around your mouth like wine tasters, and that just doesn't work for me. So I got a dumb numb tongue. It's funny that in the Trailer Lost video, I came up with the phrase numb tongue and dumb tongue. And I actually have that, I come to find out years later. Great. Busted mouth. Okay, back to the episode. Maybe I got it from my mom's dad, my pop, my grandfather. I remember one time when I was little, Seth and I were in the grocery store. Maybe it was all three of us. Me, Seth, and Josh were in Rhode Island we were at my Uncle Jimmy's beach house. He had a beach house right on the beach. It was like a little town. It wasn't right. You'd walk across out of the neighborhood and across the street, and then you're at the beach, but still pretty close. And he had a beach house in, I don't know where in Rhode Island, somewhere in Rhode Island. And I was very little, and we went to the grocery store with my pop. And we all had these pieces of pizza, like the samples, over by the deli or whatever. And the three of us grabbed these samples, and it was really gross. We all threw them away and didn't eat the pieces of pizza. We're like, oh, never mind. And then we looked at my pop, and he was just stuffing them down his mouth. He kept eating them. We were laughing so hard. We were like, oh, what's he doing? He's eating all that pizza, and it's super gross pizza. I don't remember what was on it, why we didn't like it. But Pop just was stuffing it down his mouth because he didn't have a working tongue, apparently. Oh, I was just going to say, maybe I got it from him, but now as I'm talking, I'm realizing that's impossible because I think oops, whatever. I think his tongue stopped working because he was in a plane accident, and I think he bit his tongue or something. I don't know. It was a pretty bad accident. Like, he actually was dead or was dying, and then miraculously did not. And I don't know if I feel like I shouldn't say this for some reason, but I think it's public knowledge, and he's not alive anymore anyways. Neither of them are. Well, here's an interesting thing I just remembered that I could add to this story about my pop. The guy who started Dunkin' Donuts, or the head of Dunkin' Donuts or something, was in the plane with my pop, and he died in the plane crash. It was just the two of them. My pop was flying him back to Rhode Island, or to somewhere, Milford, maybe it was Milford, Mass. There's a little airport there. I have that airport in my head, but I'm sure it's not that. He was probably flying into TF Green or somewhere. The TF Green is the Providence airport. It was a small plane, and the guy, and maybe he was going from New York. I don't know. I asked my mom. If she hears this, she's like, you got it all wrong. He was flying from somewhere, and it was suggested that they do not fly. My pop didn't want to do it. Or maybe it was another guy that didn't want to do it, and he offered my pop a bunch of money, and he's like, all right, fine. Anyways, they weren't supposed to fly. They shouldn't have been flying, and the guy really wanted to come. He wanted to, the guy was rich. He wanted to go so he could pay whatever to, get where he wanted to go. So my pop was the one that flew him, and when they were landing, they just couldn't see anything. Apparently it was really foggy, and the instruments weren't working, like a classic movie scene, everything's going wrong. And he crashed right into a tree just before the runway, and he had a limp his whole life because of that. He was, my mom, oh man, my Nana was like a wreck apparently, as you can imagine. I don't know if my mom was born or not, but anyways, he crashed, and my papa barely didn't die, and the Dunkin' Donuts guy died. I think it was the guy that started Dunkin' Donuts. That's probably wrong. Everything I say is wrong, but it was in the 60s or 70s or something, and ever since then, long story short story long, my pop can't taste anything, so he just eats anything. And I was gonna say maybe that's where I'm getting it from, but I've not been in a plane accident, and I'm going to knock on every piece of wood that is near me right now. Oh wow, the sun is wicked cool right now. It's orange. There's a rad sunset right now. I'm always afraid of jinxing myself. Speaking of jinxing myself, there's a Kurt Cobain magazine from excuse me, first burp of the podcast. You're welcome, burp fans. There's always someone who counts them. There is a Kurt Cobain magazine right next to me from when he died. It is Newsweek, and it came out the week he died, and I'm afraid to have it around because I feel like it's jinxing me, and if I look at it, it means I'll die. I'm very superstitious, so I need to get rid of that, but I don't know what to do with it because it's Siobhan, my old girlfriend, gave it to me when she moved a while ago, and I found it in the attic, and I was I gotta get rid of this thing. She's like, do you want it? You like Kurt Cobain? And I do like Kurt Cobain, but I don't want to look at this. It's kind of depressing me for some reason. So if anyone wants it, it's in a plastic case, so it's being protected as if it's worth money. Because Siobhan, I think, thought it was worth something. I don't think it's worth anything. Maybe it is. Anyone want a Newsweek magazine with Kurt Cobain on the cover from the week he died? Anyways, I feel like I'm jinxing myself constantly, and I don't want to have my tongue go numb or get in a plane accident or die. I just want to eat my bucket of soup and taste it and live eternally. I think I'm going to live to be 119 years old. That's my plan. Always thought that, so I'm going to stick to it. So anyways, let me get to now. That's my coffee story. That's a bunch of rambling stuff. I think this is going to be the last episode where I do this by myself. I think next week is when I'm going to start getting guests on here. Not sure who, maybe Charlene, Seth, or one of my actor friends. I have a lot of friends. I was going through all the people I want to have on, and every single one of them is a girl. All the friends I know that are interesting are girls. All my actor, comedian, actress friends. I should get some guys on here too, I guess. Yeah, I'm just trying to think right now who the heck I'll have on here. But yeah, I gotta figure that out. So this will probably be the last solo Nathan episode, except I'm going to do, for a certain Patreon tier, if people want it, I was going to do a solo ramble episode like this as a bonus episode for people who donate like a certain amount. I got to figure that out. I'm still figuring out the tiers. I just recently, if you go to the Patreon, you'll see there are new tiers and there's new like rewards and stuff. There's a solo voice chat hangout with me if you want to talk to me one-on-one. I can answer questions. But right now it's the group voice chat, which will be today, the day you're hearing this, at 6 p.m. at night, California time, 9 p.m. East Coast time. Another time for the middle of the country, Europe. I don't know what time it will be. At Iceland, you gotta figure out your own clock. So anyways, if you're in another country, get on the Discord. I sent it out to the $10 and up donators, maybe 7 as well. Anyways, yeah, if you want to do the voice chat, go to the Patreon. And then there will be other rewards like this bonus NaySMR. I'm hoping this build gets up with some of the popularity because I really like doing it. It'd be more fun with guests. There'll be a lot less of me just rambling by myself. So what I wanted to segue to Harry Potter, because I'd love to sip coffee, or a thing I like, hot chocolate. That's another thing. Everyone's like, just put sugar in it. It'll taste better. This is in regards to the coffee. Well, why would I make... Everyone's like, eventually it won't taste like coffee. Then why am I drinking the coffee? If I don't want it to taste like coffee, I would just drink hot chocolate or a smoothie or something else. Like, I don't understand. I'll melt a Snickers bar and drink that. It doesn't make any sense to me why people drink the coffee. I guess if you want the energy, that's not the reason I'm drinking it. You're hearing me right now. I don't stop talking. I don't stop jumping and flipping. I'm always moving. I always have energy, and that's just how it is when I wake up. I just have energy. I don't need it to drink. I don't need to drink coffee to get energy. So I guess those people who are commenting and saying that and tweeting me saying that stuff don't know why I'm drinking the coffee. But yeah, I am of the thinking that don't do something that you don't like. It's like, I don't need it. That's why I don't drink alcohol. I don't need it, and I hate the taste of it. If you're thirsty, you drink water. If you're hungry, you eat food. That's it. No, I mean, I guess you could say cake and desserts are like excess, but like, I don't even like that I do that. I wish I was like a robot. I wish I only did exactly what I needed. Like, I don't need enjoyment. I just need to stay alive and get work done. That's all I really care about. Work is fun. Making things is fun. That's all I want to do. But I guess some people who want to do that can't stay awake and they need coffee. I've never needed coffee, so I'm going to stay away from it. I tried it. Glad I tried it. There you go. Done. So something I was thinking about trying out, maybe some special episodes of NaySMR, so I'll have the guest episodes, and then maybe on the bonus episodes, instead of me just rambling, I was thinking about maybe reading from a book, because I know a lot of people liked my ghost stories, and many people have asked me to do that again, but I'm kind of just burned out on it. I didn't really do it. It's a lot of setup. I don't have the cameras to do the ghost setup show. I do it on my phone, and it just looks like crap because I try to do it in low light, so it looks spooky, but then my phone can't see me, and it's just grainy, and I can't stream from it because the Wi-Fi stinks on my phone. So we got a burp coming. There we go. It's burp 2. I'm low on burps this week. I'm sorry, everyone. I haven't been burping more. So I was like, well, what else can I do? I could read stories, and I've never read Harry Potter. I don't know anything about Harry Potter. I watched like the first movie and don't even remember it. I have some complaints about Harry Potter. From what I do know about Harry Potter, the stupid Quidditch game, which apparently makes no sense. I can't get into that right now. I'll get in a big argument with myself. But another thing about him and his powers, and he was supposed to be great, and like you never get that satisfying moment. I've never seen them. I've only been told what's happened in them, and based off what I know, I feel like you never hear how awesome Harry Potter is, and then you never hear about him doing, or you never see him do the super cool thing to show everyone he is good. What he's good at is just being a good boy or something, or like controlling his temper and be like, that's it. Or maybe then Seth, I think, told me recently, because Seth read all of them. He's like, oh, he's not good. His parents were really good, and he just got protected by his mom's magic or something. I'm like, okay, I guess. I want to hear a story about a guy's freaking tight and does tight things. Everyone's like, dude, that guy's crazy. And then he proves that he's crazy. He does a magic spell and shoots lightning bolts out of his butt. That's tight. That's what I want to hear. I'm going to read that story. Cliche, sick magician. I want to read a story about Chris Angel, not Harry Potter. I want the Chris Angel version of a magician story. So I was thinking about doing me reading a story, because something I like to do is listen to people read. Usually what sounds best for reading a story is like an old British guy, and they're like, hello, welcome to the story of the nightingale in the castle. The story begins in the motherland of flowing green fields with poppy flowers all throughout, waving in the wind. The birds were chirping. Already knocked out, falling asleep, so relaxing. That's what I like to listen to. So I was like, maybe I could do that, even though I burp and fart the whole time and I can't say my words right. So I'm going to read now the first page. You're going to experience this with me. I've never read Harry Potter. So you're going to read with me, or listen to me read the first page. It's like, I realized I looked at the first chapter and it was like 8 pages. And I was like, this is going to take forever. So I'm going to read the first page of Harry Potter right now as a little bonus ending to the podcast. And to see how it goes, see what you guys think. If you think it's a good idea, please comment. Also, please, if you're not subscribed and you just found this, please subscribe. I do a lot of things. This podcast is not the main thing I do. I do characters and physical comedy. And I haven't been putting up that many videos lately because I'm trying to not break my back and break my wallet, because filming those character videos always cost me money. So I'm trying to focus on cheaper character things. But yeah, Talking Classics is coming back once a month for those who do know what Talking Classics is. And then I'll have a character video every other Wednesday that isn't Talking Classics. Talking Classics will be the fourth Monday, the last Wednesday. I got a lot going on. It's confusing. This is a video game let's play thing. There's characters, there's all kinds of junk. But my main thing is physical comedy and character work, I guess. I like doing characters. I like acting. Alright, so this podcast is just bonus fun stuff for me. So if you like this podcast, you might like my other stuff. Maybe you won't, because it's nothing like this. Whatever you like, watch it, subscribe. I'm trying to hit 400,000 subscribers. I'm getting very close. I think this year I will do it. I wanted to try to hit 500,000 by the end of the year, but that sounds insane. 40,000 is a lot. I don't know if I can even make that. So please tell your friends. Please subscribe. And let's now read Harry Potter. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Lived. Alright, I'm going to try to do this like an old cool British dude. Or just like I'm going to control my voice, and I'm going to try not to be funny. Alright, here we go. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley. Oh, wow. 3 words in, I can't read that. Dursley. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious, because they just didn't hold with such nonsense. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Grunnings, which made drills. He was a big, beefy man with hardly any neck, although he did have a very large mustache. Sounds like my dad. My dad's mustache is enormous. Mrs. Dursley was thin and blonde and had nearly twice the usual amount of neck. Wait, see, words? I'm trying to read ahead, but it's messing me up. Mrs. Dursley was thin and blonde and had nearly twice the usual amount of neck, which came in very useful as she spent so much of her time craning over the garden fences spying on the neighbors. The Dursleys had a small son called Dudley, and in their opinion, there was no finer boy anywhere. The Dursleys had everything they wanted, but they also had a secret, and their greatest fear was that somebody would discover it. They didn't think they could bear it if anyone found out about the Potters. Mrs. Potter was Mrs. Dursley's sister, but they hadn't met for several years, in fact. Mrs. Dursley Mrs. Dursley pretended she didn't have a sister because her sister and her good-for-nothing husband were as un-Dursleyish as it was possible to be. The Dursleys shuddered to think what the neighbors would say if the Potters arrived in the street. The Dursleys knew that the Potters had a small son, too. They had never even seen him. This boy was another good reason for keeping the Potters away. They didn't want Dudley mixing with a child like that. These people stink. Wow, rude. It's your own sister, for crying out loud. I guess it's like it's like an X-Men world. The mutants don't like the humans, only the mutants. Lame. Alright, here we go. Continuing. This is already not great. I'm messing it up. When Mr. and Mrs. Dursley woke up on a dull gray Tuesday, our story starts. There was nothing about the cloudy sky to suggest that strange and mysterious things would soon be happening all over the country. Mr. Dursley hummed as he picked out his most boring tie for work, and Mrs. Dursley gossiped away happily as she wrestled a screaming Dudley into his high chair. None of them noticed a large, tawny owl flutter past the window at 8:30. Mr. Dursley picked up his briefcase, pecked Mrs. Dursley on the cheek, and tried to kiss Dudley goodbye, but missed because Dudley was now having a tantrum and throwing his cereal at the walls. Little Tyke chortled Mr. Dursley as he left the house. Chortled? That's interesting. He got into his car and backed out of number 4's driveway. It was on the corner of the street that he noticed the first sign of something peculiar: a cat reading a map. For a second, Mr. Dursley didn't realize what he had seen. Then he jerked his head around to look again. There was a tabby cat standing on the corner of Privet Drive, but there wasn't a map in sight. What could he have been thinking of? It must have been a trick of the light. Mr. Dursley blinked and stared at the cat. It stared back. As Mr. Dursley drove around the corner and up the road, he watched the cat in his mirror. It was now reading the sign that said Privet Drive. No looking at the sign. Cats couldn't read maps or signs. What? These sentences are hard. It was now reading the sign that said Privet Drive. No looking at the signs. Cats couldn't read maps or signs. Mr. Dursley gave himself a little shake and put the cat out of his mind. That is a weird sentence. I don't understand what the thinking is behind it. All right, last paragraph. As he drove down toward town, he thought of nothing except a large order of drills he was hoping to get that day. But on the edge of town, drills were driven out of his mind by something else. As he sat in the usual morning traffic jam, he couldn't help noticing that there seemed to be a lot of strangely dressed people about. People in cloaks. Mr. Dursley couldn't bear people who dressed in... Oh, crap. I gotta go to the next page. That's the end of first page. Let's see what... I'm just gonna read the one last paragraph on the top of the second page. Couldn't bear people dressed in funny clothes. The get-ups you saw on young people. He supposed this was some stupid new fashion. He drummed his fingers on the steering wheel as his eyes fell on a huddle of these weirdos standing quite close by. They were whispering excitedly together. Mr. Dursley was enraged to see that a couple of them weren't young at all. Why, that man had to be older than he was, and wearing an emerald green cloak. The nerve of him. The nerve for wearing something cool. But then it struck Mr. Dursley that this was probably some silly stunt. These people were obviously collecting for traffic. Yes, that would be it. The traffic moved and a few minutes later, Mr. Dursley arrived. See, now I'm going down the whole page. I'm just continuing to read. Mr. Dursley arrived in the Grunnings parking lot, his mind back on drills. Mr. Dursley always sat with his back to the window in his office on the 9th floor. If he hadn't, he might have found it harder to concentrate on drills that morning. He didn't see the owls swooping past in broad daylight, though people down in the street did. They pointed and gazed open-mouthed as owl after owl sped overhead. Most of them never had seen an owl. Even at night, Mr. Dursley, however, had a perfectly normal owl-free morning. He yelled at 5 different people, he made several important phone calls, and shouted a bit more. He was in a very good mood until lunchtime, when he thought he'd stretch his legs and walk across the road to buy himself a bun from the bakery. Okay, I'm just going to continue reading. I need to stop myself there. That is a page and a half from Harry Potter, the first book. That was pretty fun, actually. I mess up a lot. I'm not good at reading. I need to read slower and focus and look ahead. Let me know what you think. Should my bonus episodes be me reading stories? I kind of wanted to read my own stories, write some short stories, and then read them. But that's a lot of extra writing. I'm already writing every single day, so I don't know if I can add that to my payload, my workload. So let me know what you think. Maybe I'll read a page from Harry Potter, a couple pages from Harry Potter as a bonus episode, or I'll just ramble. I really do like your opinion. I like to hear what people think, what you think's working, what you want to hear or see. So let me know, please, and please subscribe. Tell your friends if you can. Please donate to the Patreon. It's absolutely how I'm staying alive. Because YouTube, you can see the views are really low, and I just don't get anything from it anymore. But if eventually I start making some cash on YouTube again, then I won't need to do the Patreon, and you can stop donating. But if you like me, you want to keep me alive, you want to keep me in your life, please donate. Thank you. I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye.